Hannah, I know that you read books to your two daughters, but tell us about the book by your bedside that you are reading at the moment.
Well, Jeannie, the book I'm actually rereading is by Bob Goff, and it's called Everybody Always. Fantastic book. Bob is an American. He spent most of his career as a lawyer, and he has written other books as well. One I've since read called Love Does, and actually I would recommend reading Love Does first and then reading Everybody Always. They naturally follow on from one another. But he's written other books called Undistracted and Dream Big. And he's actually written a daily devotional, which is also by my bedside, which is called Live in Grace and Walk in Love.
Okay. And tell us a bit about the information inside the book.
Okay, so Everybody Always was recommended to me by a Christian friend. She actually lent me her copy to read initially. I've since bought my own because I wanted to highlight all over the pages. When I first started reading it, I didn't know if I was going to get on with this book because his personality, his character is completely different from mine, completely different from anybody I've ever known. An example is he refers to his wife as Sweet Marie all the time. And I thought, this is going to drive me crazy as I can't do smokes. But actually, very quickly, I got drawn into the book. And this book, in essence, is teaching about how to live as a Christian. But for me, it's a perfect read because each chapter is a mix of him telling a story from his own life or from one of his friends' experiences, but mixed in with a lesson and teaching application, which is actually probably for me the best way that I love preaching and love listening to talks. It's the best way that I learn. It keeps my interest up.
Yeah. Would you say that this book was good advice and an honest book, or are there flaws in it, would you say?
Gosh, it's totally an honest book. He couldn't be any more real and just bare his soul on the pages. You know, some parts of it made me laugh out loud. Some parts made me bawl my eyes out crying, yeah. But all of it challenged me. And to be honest, and this is going to sound really strange because I've never met him, but I actually fell in love with him as a fellow brother in Christ. I understood his heart and what he was trying to get across. And I would love him as a personal mentor. If I could have been discipled by someone like that, it would have been incredible. I'd love, my family to go and spend a week or two with him and just see his boldness and his incredible passion for loving life and the people around him. It's just amazing. And, it's made me realize that I need more of that in my life.
Yeah. So you have found this book challenging in some way. Can you give us an example of that, Hannah?
Yeah, I can. I would say, I think he fits 48 hours into just one day. I don't know how he accomplishes all that he does. For me, I go to work for 8 hours, I come home, I cook tea, I sort our children out, and that's me done for the day. Whereas Bob would have climbed a mountain, gone skydiving with his son, visited a sick neighbour, fed all the homeless people, and that's all before lunchtime. But things that I've only ever sort of dreamed of doing, or things that I wouldn't even think up, he's done. He's become a pilot and set up his own airline. He's become the honorary consul for Uganda. He's visited presidents and world leaders with his children. He's now set up his own ministry where he rescues children internationally from horrendous, dangerous situations and makes sure they're educated. But as much as he's done the big, wild things, he does as much for his neighbours, for those in prisons around him, for those on the streets around him. his ethos is sort of like see a need, fill a need. And I kind of got the thought as I was going through that while I'm busy sat there praying for my purpose or my ministry in life, waiting for a confirmation, and there are times to do that, but where I'm sort of holding off on life, forming plans, Bob just loves people and gets on with things. And he's just got this boldness and fearlessness that I really want to help make me, you know, a better Christian and transform the world around me, which is what this book inspires anyone to do.
Yeah. If you were to meet Bob, the author, what would you say to him, Hannah?
Do you know, I think about this all the time, because actually he puts his phone number in the back of his book, and he writes about you know, how many calls he gets, and he doesn't want to ever miss calls from people. He takes more. Again, I don't know how you do that and fit that in your life. So I think about it all the time. And he has people who sort of go into his family's house for meals, and all sorts of positions in society come, and he asks them all to write a word under the table, to carve a word under there with the date that they were there. And, you know, I was just trying to even just think about a word. I think if I met him, I'd probably be a little bit kind of like starstruck, but I just ask him, you know, how he does it, how he just thinks of all these things and gets on and does all these things. It's just an incredible service that he does. And I know his answer would be Jesus, and he's very humble and points everything back to Jesus. But, you know, there's just so much that I would want to learn from him, and hopefully that would rub off on me. And hopefully just from reading this book, a bit of that has started to rub off on me.
Yeah, I can see that reading this book has really done something for you personally. So what would you say to Living Stones, Church on the Internet, people who may want to read this book today?
I would say get a copy of Love Does and Everybody Always, read them both, and probably read them both once a year, because for me, rereading this has reminded me once again of how I need to be living my life as a Christian. And it gives you that little refocus that you need on the fact that actually Jesus just said, love him and love your neighbour. And sometimes we build too much into that, or we make excuses, or we plan things ahead and delay doing actually anything at all. Whereas we can just be getting on with that in whatever our purpose and plans are for other things and other ministries. You know, people aren't projects. People don't want to be ministered to. They just want to be loved and accepted. And this book will just give you a sense of a heart of what Jesus wants us to do. And, you know, I found it inspiring and encouraging, and I hope that anyone who reads that book would do too. And if we all were inspired and encouraged, it would be amazing how we would all then be transforming our communities and the lives of people around us.
That sounds good advice there for us all today, Hannah. So could you please tell us the title and the author's name again of your book?
Yeah, so it's Bob Goff, Everybody Always.
Bob Goff, Everybody Always, and you can get that book from Amazon. Hannah, thank you. This looks a great book, and I'm sure there'll be people who want to read that today. Thank you for this interview. God bless you.
Thanks, Jeannie.